Welcome to the deep dive, and a really warm welcome to everyone tuning in today, especially all of you joining us from the Morozova School. We're happy you're here.
Yes, welcome everyone. We know many of you are working incredibly hard in your English every single day.
That's right. And because we want every idea we discuss to be really clear and helpful for you, we're going to keep our pace thoughtful and steady today.
Absolutely. Nice and clear.
So, our mission today. We want to explore the story of your English accent. We're going beyond just, what an accent is.
We're really diving into the why. Why do non-native accents exist? And this is crucial, why you should maybe see your accent as, as an asset, something valuable.
Not something to get rid of.
Exactly. Let's get this out right at the start. The whole idea of someone having no accent,
Yeah.
a perfect or neutral speaker,
Yeah.
it's not real. It's an illusion.
Everyone has an accent.
Everyone. Think of it like your voice fingerprint, unique to you.
Okay, that's a great way to put it. Voice fingerprint. I like that. But to start, let's get a term straight. People often confuse accent and dialect. Could you break that down for us?
Definitely. Happy to. So an accent, that's purely about the sound of your voice. It's about pronunciation, how you say the words.
Okay, pronunciation.
Yeah, and also where you put the emphasis, the stress in words,
Yeah.
and the overall rhythm and tone. Linguists call it prosody.
Prosody, like the music of how someone speaks. If they sound kind of sing-songy or maybe very flat.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's prosody. So accent is all about the sound. Now, a dialect, that's bigger.
Broader.
Yes, includes the accent, so the sound, plus specific words, vocabulary, and even grammar that a particular group uses.
Ah, okay, so like American English versus British English.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
There are different dialects of English. They sound different accents, but they also use some different words and occasionally slightly different grammar.
Got it. That distinction is really helpful. Okay, so now we know the terms. Let's get into the mechanics, the physical side. Why is it sometimes, hard for our mouths to make these new sounds in English?
Right. It really comes down to physical habits. Muscle memory. Think about it. For years, maybe decades, your vocal organs,
You mean like the tongue, lips?
exactly, your vocal cords, your mouth shape, your lips, and especially your tongue, they've built up really strong habits. They're trained, physically trained, to make the sounds of your native language.
So they're kind of set in their ways.
Pretty much. They got a specific routine they're used to. It's like,
Yeah.
one source we looked at had a great analogy.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine your native language is, say, a soft, juicy orange. And English is like a crisp, crunchy apple.
Okay, orange and apple.
Both are fruit, right? Both languages.
Mm.
But your mouth has to do fundamentally different things to speak orange versus speak apple. When you try to speak English, your muscles train for the orange.
They want to do the orange movements.
They do. But English sounds need the apple movements. And that little clash, that tension between the old habit and the new requirement, that's what we hear as a foreign accent. It's your orange muscles trying to make apple sounds.
That makes so much sense visually. So where do learners often face the biggest hurdles with specific sounds?
It's usually where English uses sounds that they don't even exist in the learner's mother tongue.
Right.
Take Spanish speakers, for instance. Spanish has essentially 5 pure vowel sounds, nice and clear.
Yeah.
English, though, it has a much wider, more complex range of vowels.
Which makes things like sheep and ship tricky.
Exactly. Those subtle vowel differences can be really hard to hear and even harder to produce if your native language doesn't make that distinction.
And you mentioned other sounds too, like from different language families.
Yeah, absolutely. Some languages, like Arabic, for example, use sounds made way back in the throat.
Yeah.
Pharyngeal sounds, they're called.
Pharyngeal.
Those muscular movements just aren't typically used in English. So when an Arabic speaker switches to English, those sounds often get, adapted or changed slightly. And that contributes to the accent.
And the classic example like L and R for Japanese speakers.
That's another perfect one. The distinction isn't phonemic in Japanese in the same way it is in English, so learning to produce them distinctly requires retraining those mouth muscles.
We often hear that kids just seem to soak up languages, accents, and all much more easily than adults. Why is age such a big factor?
Yeah, that's a really common observation, and there's science behind it. It connects to something called the critical period hypothesis.
Critical period.
Basically, the idea is that younger brains, let's say generally before puberty, seem to have much more neuroplasticity.
Plasticity, like flexibility, moldability.
Exactly. Think of it as the brain's amazing ability to rewire itself, to form new connections really efficiently and quickly. This makes kids super sensitive to all those tiny little details in language, the exact pronunciation of a vowel, the subtle difference between L and R.
And adults, we've kind of solidified things.
In a way, yes. Adults often face, you could say, a double challenge. First, there's that ingrained muscle memory we talked about, years and years of speaking one way.
The orange muscles.
Right. But the second challenge is psychological.
Ah.
Kids tend to be pretty uninhibited, don't they? They'll just try sounds, make mistakes, laugh it off. They're less afraid of sounding silly.
Whereas adults, we can be more self-conscious,
Yeah.
worried about judgment.
Precisely. That fear of making mistakes, of being judged, can actually hold adults back. It can make them hesitant to really commit to those new, maybe slightly awkward muscle movements needed for different sounds.
Okay, this is all fascinating science, but it leads us to what might be the most, well, empowering point for everyone listening. The global picture of English today.
Yes. This is huge, and honestly, it should be a massive confidence booster for you if you're learning English. The numbers are really striking.
What do the stats say?
Well, according to the data we reviewed, there are roughly 978.2 million people worldwide who speak English as a second language. L2 speakers, we call them.
Wow, almost a billion. 978 million. And native speakers.
Significantly fewer. Only about 369.9 million people speak English as their mother tongue, their first language,
Right.
or L1.
Okay, let me just process that. So non-native speakers, L2 speakers,
Mm,
they outnumber native L1 speakers by, what is that, almost 3 to 1?
that's right. Nearly 3 times as many L2 speakers as L1 speakers globally.
So the implication here is enormous, isn't it? It means English isn't really owned by native speakers anymore.
That is absolutely key insight. You're far more likely, statistically, to be speaking English with another non-native speaker than with a native speaker in many international contexts.
So the standard isn't necessarily RP or General American anymore.
The global reality is shifting. The main goal for English worldwide is becoming less about conforming to one or two native accents and much more about, well, just being understood, clear communication.
Which brings us back to the idea of your accent being something positive. You called it a badge of honor.
I really believe that. Think about it. Your accent tells a story. It shows the incredible effort, the dedication, the hard work you've put into learning another language, becoming bilingual or multilingual. That's something to be genuinely proud of.
Okay, let's talk about some concrete advantages then. Our sources mention some surprising benefits of having a non-native accent, like being an icebreaker.
Yes, that's the first one. It's often the very first thing a native speaker might notice.
And it leads to that question, oh, where are you from?
Exactly. It immediately gives you both something easy and friendly to talk about. It kind of jumpstarts the conversation, makes that initial connection a bit smoother.
Okay, that makes sense. What else? Proof of intelligence?
Well, yeah, in a way. Think about what it takes to hold a decent conversation in a second language, especially one learned as an adult.
It requires a lot of brain power.
It absolutely does. It demonstrates high cognitive ability, flexibility, memory, and real commitment to personal development. These are qualities employers really value, by the way, much more than perfect pronunciation.
Communication skills over accent perfection.
Absolutely. Then there's the mistake buffer. This one's interesting.
Mistake buffer.
Yeah. Imagine a native speaker makes a grammar mistake. Other native speakers might, sometimes unfairly, judge them as maybe careless or poorly educated.
Okay.
But if you, speaking with a noticeable non-native accent, make a small slip in grammar or vocabulary,
People are usually more understanding.
much more forgiving. They instantly recognize you're navigating a complex system that isn't your first language. They often give you credit just for trying, and sometimes they'll even gently help you out or offer a correction in a supportive way.
That's definitely been my experience sometimes. It feels less high stakes.
It can be. And last one, maybe a bit of fun, the attractiveness factor.
Right. Can your accent actually make you seem more attractive? Is that real?
Apparently, yes. Various surveys and studies pop up about this.
Like which accents?
Well, the sources mention, for instance, that British men often rate French accents as particularly appealing, and British women. Apparently, the Italian accent often tops their list.
Interesting. Any others?
Spanish, Mexican, Brazilian, Portuguese were also mentioned as scoring highly in terms of perceived attractiveness in some contexts. So, your accent really can add to your unique charm.
Definitely something to keep in mind. But,
I agree.
okay, we have to address the flip side. The social side of accents isn't always positive, is it?
No, and it's really important we talk about this critically. An accent isn't just about your native language. It gets tangled up with geography, where you grew up.
Social class, too.
Yes, social class, education level, even ethnicity. All these factors can shape how an accent sounds and, crucially, how it's perceived by others.
And that's where stereotypes come in.
Exactly. Unfortunately, accents often get linked to stereotypes, and this leads to something called negative accent bias.
And this isn't just about non-native accents, right? It happens within English-speaking countries, too.
Oh, absolutely, big time. In the United States, for example, certain accents, like maybe a strong Southern accent or some urban accents, can be unfairly associated with stereotypes about education or intelligence.
And in the UK.
Similar story. The Brummie accent from Birmingham is often cited as one that faces prejudice, sometimes linked to assumptions about social standing or capability.
And this bias isn't just harmless stereotyping, it has real-world consequences.
Sadly, yes. Studies have shown that accent discrimination is a real thing. It can affect your chances in job interviews, trying to rent housing, even just in everyday social interactions, particularly if your accent is associated with a group that holds less social power.
That's quite sobering, and it explains why some people really strive for that neutral accent, doesn't it? To avoid triggering these biases. What are these so-called prestige accents?
Right. The prestige accents are usually the ones linked to power, wealth, elite education, or the media. In the UK, the classic example is received pronunciation, RP.
Often called BBC English or the Queen's English.
Exactly. It carries connotations of high social status and education. But here's the fascinating part. Estimates suggest only about maybe 3% of the UK population actually speaks with a true RP accent.
Only 3%. So it's held up as the standard, but almost nobody actually uses it naturally.
Pretty much. It's more of a social marker than a widespread linguistic norm.
And what's the equivalent in the US?
It's often called General American, though it's maybe less a single accent and more a spectrum of accents that are perceived as lacking strong regional features.
The kind you hear on national news broadcasts.
Often, yes. It's associated with broadcast media and, again, higher levels of education across different regions. But even General American isn't one fixed thing. It varies and evolves.
So the big takeaway here seems to be aware that these biases exist out there in society.
You have to know about them.
But don't internalize that prejudice. Don't let it dictate your own goals, especially when, as we said, L2 speakers are the global majority now.
Precisely. The ultimate goal should be clear, confident, comprehensible communication. Being understood, not necessarily sounding like someone else, especially if that someone else represents a tiny minority.
Focus on clarity, not conformity.
That's the mantra.
Okay, so with that in mind, clarity being the goal, not eliminating your accent, what practical, actionable tips can we offer, especially for our B1, B2 listeners aiming to be more easily understood?
Great question. We've got 3 key tips from our sources. The first one sounds incredibly simple, but it's so powerful. Slow down.
Just speak more slowly, like we're trying to do now.
Exactly. Think about the listener's brain. When someone hears an accent that's unfamiliar to them, their brain has to work a little harder to process the sounds, the rhythm, the patterns.
Okay.
By simply slowing down your pace, not shouting, just reducing your speed slightly,
Yeah.
you give their brain that crucial extra bit of time to decode what you're saying. It makes a huge difference to comprehension.
Slow down. Got it. What's tip number 2?
Tip 2 is about conscious exposure.
Exposure, like listening more.
Yes, but consciously, actively. The more you hear different English accents, the more your brain gets used to the variety. It learns to adapt and understand different patterns more easily.
So things like watching movies, listening to podcasts.
Absolutely. International podcasts are great for this. Or taking classes, maybe like the ones at Morozova School where you hear instructors and fellow students with diverse accents. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. Give it the input it needs.
Makes sense. Train your ear, basically. And the final tip. This one seems aimed more at the production side, tackling that muscle memory.
Yes, this is about practice and imitation. If you want to fine-tune certain sounds, you need to work those muscles.
How?
Listen consciously to a speaker whose pronunciation you admire. Maybe someone from a film, a news report, a podcast you like, and then repeat them out loud.
Mimicry.
Active imitation. Muscle memory only changes through repetition. And here's a really effective technique. Record yourself speaking.
Oh, cringe. But probably usable.
It can feel awkward at first, definitely, but listening back to your own voice gives you incredibly clear, objective feedback. You can hear exactly where your pronunciation might differ from your target, where your stress falls, how your pitch sounds. It shows you precisely what you might want to work on.
Record, listen, adjust, repeat.
That's the cycle for fine-tuning pronunciation if that's your goal. But remember, the main aim is always clarity.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really reframes how we should think about accents. Let's try to wrap up the main idea then. Your accent isn't a flaw.
Not at all. It's a reflection of your journey, your life, your heritage, your linguistic background, and your amazing effort in learning English. It's part of your unique story.
A story that's always evolving, you said.
Absolutely. Accents are never fixed. They're always changing, subtly or sometimes dramatically. Just as a final thought for you to ponder, our research mentioned the fascinating emergence of a brand new accent, Antarctic English.
Antarctic English.
Yeah, among a small, very isolated group of researchers down there. It shows how language adapts. So the question for you is, how might your future experiences, the different English speakers you interact with, continue to shape and influence the unique sound of your voice?
That's a brilliant question to leave everyone with. How will your voice evolve? Love that. Okay, before we wrap up fully, as we promised, let's quickly explain those 3 useful English phrases we highlighted earlier. We'll do this nice and slowly for clarity.
Okay, I'll state the phrase, and you can give the meaning and context, or we can switch.
Sounds good. Let's start with phrase 1. Embrace your accent.
Right. So to embrace something, it means to accept it fully, maybe even to love it, to welcome it.
So embrace your accent means accept your unique way of speaking. Celebrate it. Don't feel like you need to hide it or apologize for it.
Exactly. Own it. Okay, phrase 2. A badge of honor.
A badge is usually a little sign or symbol you wear, maybe on your clothes. A badge of honor means something that represents a real achievement, something difficult you accomplished, or a quality you're proud of.
So your accent is like a badge you wear proudly, showing the hard work and success of learning English.
Perfect. And finally, phrase 3, icebreaker.
Ah, the icebreaker. Think about ice being cold and hard. An icebreaker is something that, well, breaks that initial coldness or stiffness between people who've just met.
It's something you say or do to get conversation started easily and make people feel more relaxed and comfortable together.
Like asking about someone's interesting accent. It could be a great, friendly way to start talking. A conversation starter.
Fantastic. Thank you for breaking those down. And thank you for this whole fascinating discussion.
My pleasure.
And thank you especially for joining us today. Keep learning, keep speaking, and be proud of that unique voice, Trent, your accent. It's truly yours.